Hello and welcome to another episode of Who Knew in the Moment, the podcast. I'm your host, Phil Friedrich, and today I am honored to have Dale Comstock with me. Dale is a ex-military Delta Force gentleman. He also is the author of The American Badass. He's been on TV shows, he's been in movies, and one of the best takeaways I think you're going to hear in Dale's story is how when you are really focused on what it is that you want to accomplish, you can achieve it at the highest level. So, Dale, thanks so much for being on today.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
You bet. So, to start your story, you grew up in a military household and you grew up overseas. So, talk a little bit about that dynamic of being in a country that isn't necessarily home, but creating a community with people that have something in common with you.
So my father was in the Army for 20 years. And so actually in the 60s and 70s, right up until the 60s and 70s, I lived in Germany. And my mother's German, my father's American, obviously. And you know, probably still to this day, but back then we lived in these American communities, military communities, right? So, and they're all over the place in Germany. And so it was kind of a unique experience because you're kind of like an island of Americans
Yeah.
in a foreign country, and I remember back in that era, we only had one American TV station, one American radio station. AFN network was what it was, right? So everybody had to watch the same thing. You had one movie theater that everybody could go to, and we watch, the newest movies that came out. And then the other pastime was intramural sports for the kids, right?
Mm.
So that was a big deal for the community as well. Go watch the kids play baseball, football, basketball. Those were the kind of the highlights back then. And the other thing that I thought was interesting is, growing up in a military culture like that, it's very different from a civilian culture. And
Yeah.
in fact, it can be very difficult, and it was for me transitioning out of the military lifestyle into a civilian lifestyle. My dad retired, he actually retired out of Fort Huachuca in Arizona. He got a job in San Francisco, well, actually in the Bay Area, in a place called Fremont, and we all moved up there. So at the time, I was 15, just turned 16, and it's just a really surreal experience in that the kids were not the same, the
Mm.
kids were not the same at all. And, I remember, for example, growing up in these military installations, for example, in the afternoon when retreat played, the bugle played, the flag was lowered, it was on a microphone, not a microphone, but a system where everybody in the community could hear the speaker system where everybody could hear retreat played,
Yeah.
and it was protocol. Everybody stopped what they're doing. Even the car stopped. Everybody got out of the car and they rendered a salute or they put their hand over their head. Even the kids did that. We all did that. If we went to the movie theater and before the movie actually played, they played the Star Spangled Banner, and everybody
Mm.
stood up, hand over their heart. That's the culture I grew up in, a military culture. And and so therefore, when I went to the civilian world, it was like it was just a shock, man. It's like these kids are not the same. They don't have the same kind of, because the regimentation, the discipline that was passed down from our fathers in the
Yeah.
military to us, right? Just by proxy, man, we learned to be, you know, disciplined, regimented. We understood the meaning of integrity and honesty. All those values that are inherent to the military were passed on to us, to the kids. And
Yeah.
and I know there's liberals out there and leftists that, blah, 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 blah. You know what? I would argue that if every man and woman served in the military, and their children had an opportunity to be a part of that, um, we'd be unstoppable as a country, man.
Mm.
The whole mindset and culture is so much better, and if you notice, you just watch the media, they're trying their hardest, particularly on the left, to just disparage the military, calls racist. I say us because you know what? I'm always going to be a soldier.
That's right.
Um, and so when they disparage the military, call us racist, and it's nothing more than an attempt to undermine the military, because it is the last bastion of integrity and honesty and
Mm,
all those values that are near and dear that make societies functional and positive, and strong. And it's an attempt, I believe, to tear down that, tear away the fabric of that type of a community, and then integrate it with all these weirdos, and create this, and we're having it happen right now. I mean, we're watching it play right now in the military, on the wokeness and all those other garbage. But anyways, for me personally, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was because of that experience, because that lifestyle, that culture, the friendships, um, the values that I learned, it has created the guy that I am, and I
yeah.
still hold those values to this day. I'm 61 years old, and I'm still a soldier from within. I'm still a soldier from without. It's that honesty and integrity that's allowed me to get as far as I have in life.
I love it. Now, to talk about that though, if I understand correctly, your parents weren't keen on you going directly into the military. They had a different thought process on the way life would go. Hey, go to college, maybe do a few different routes. So, talk a little bit about what is, transpired to kind of prompt you to go into the military, and then talk a little bit about that conversation with your parents and how that went.
Well, so my both my mother and my father just had my mom, in fact, had a ninth grade education. My dad had 11th grade education, right? So
Yeah.
that's it. Nobody on either side of my family had a college degree. And so, it was my father's hopes that I would be the first to represent both sides of the family and be, a college graduate. That was a big deal,
Yeah.
right? And so honestly, I wasn't a good student, not because I'm an idiot. There's two reasons I wasn't a good student in high school. Is one, for the 4 years I was in high school, almost mid-year every time we moved, like we moved
Mm,
from Germany to Fort White, Sierra Vista, Arizona, and then from Sierra Vista, Arizona to Fremont, and then from Fremont to Sacramento. So, when you do that and you move in the middle of a school year, it's hard to catch up with the curriculum of the new school, right? And then, there's that assimilation process, that time, making friendships and just trying to get oriented. And I had a difficult time
mm,
adjusting. So my grades suffered. Actually, my everything suffered. I could not make friends. I was reluctant to make friends because I figured I might not be around very long. And then even the friends that, the people I was immersed in, I didn't want to really be friends with because they were just not
yeah.
like us. It's just weird, right?
Yeah.
And so that was part of it. And the other part of it is, I'm a high active kind of guy, man, and I move fast. I like to do a lot of things. And honestly, school was just too slow for me.
Mm,
That's the problem with, today, you look at 9 out of 10 uh, kids that are on ADHD medicine are boys. And why is that? It's not
mm,
because they're hyperactive. It's because boys, we are different, right? We have
yeah.
to be, we're aggressive, we're active, and putting us in a school environment, we have to sit down with the girls and be nice and calm and learn. It's outside of our DNA, if you will. And so,
Mhm.
I think I'm a glaring example that as an A-type personality, I had a difficult time focusing. I would rather be outside playing football or playing army or
Yeah.
doing something besides sitting in a chair, listening to a teacher, and it was very difficult for me to. Unfortunately, I wasn't on ADHD medicine. It's way far overused, but probably shouldn't be used at all, honestly. But it's used in the wrong way, I think. But anyways, so that was my other issue, right? So I had a hard
Yeah.
time just relaxing, sitting down in school and learning because I was just always moving. Um,
Yeah.
so you know, I wanted to join the military, and my father, when I kind of brought it up, he told me, no, you won't do well in the military, you're
Mm,
lazy, blah, 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 right? And so I was actually a little surprised that he said that to me, but so I ended up sneaking down to recruiters anyways and signing up. And then after
yeah.
I told him, I knew I'd made a mistake, right? I broke his heart. And So I promised them that I would join the military. I had no choice. I was already enlisted now. And so
Yeah.
I said, but I told them I'd get my college degree as a minimum, right? Just to, check that block and
Yeah.
happy, and I went beyond that, while I was in the military. So I served, 20 years, 10 years as a Delta Force operator, 5 years
Yeah.
as a Green Beret, and 5 years in Airborne Infantry, long range scouts. So I did 20 years kicking indoors, shooting guns, digging foxholes, but I still managed to put myself through college. And I ended up retiring out of the military with a master's degree in
Mm.
business and organizational security management. And then I went on from there. I worked for the Alphabet company, we'll call that, for 9.5 years. And I earned my PhD downrange, all of it downrange. So if I wasn't out running down bad guys, lifting weights or sleeping, I was actually studying. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, and so at the end of the day, I know my dad was proud of me, because I went way above beyond the call of duty. And
Yeah.
no, I don't have daddy issues. It's not about daddy issues. See, that's always the fallback. Oh, you got daddy issues, you little man, little man. So let me tell you something. I love my father. My father
Yep.
was my hero, and I would do anything to make my father proud, right,
Mm.
and make my father happy. It was not about me; it was about him, And
Yeah.
this is where people get all way off the track. They think, they think they think wrongly. They don't realize that sometimes some of us out here we do shit for other people, not just for
Mm.
ourselves. And I did it for my
Yeah.
father because he deserved that, right? And so, and he's really the reason in many ways that I have become the man that I become. In
Yeah.
fact, he's not with us anymore. Passed away in 2012, but um, I assume, I know he's still out there and he's still watching. He's still aware of what's going on, and I always act with the presence of mind that my dad, what would my dad say right now if I
Mm.
do this? So I always live with that and I always think of that. And it's not some bullshit I just make up. I happen to feel that, yeah, we all never die.
Yeah.
Talk about reincarnation. I have a different perspective on it, but more from a metaphysical standpoint. But we never really die. And our spirit lives on, our frequency lives on, so
Yeah.
to speak. So that's kind of, yeah, to answer your question, it's kind of long
That's
way
great.
military, but yeah, that's kind of what happened.
I love it. Now you mentioned Delta Force, Green Beret, and you've spoken about this many times, but I thought it was a really interesting point, and I have no military background, so it was just very enlightening to me. But you had shared just to get into these echelons of service, there's different routes, or I guess different obstacles in the way, right? And you talk very highly about how in your line it was very much like you were stranded, you were on your own, and you were kind of navigating these challenges by yourself, whereas in like the Navy SEALs, still a very difficult thing to get through, but there's a group of people, and sometimes you can gather energy from the group. So talk a little bit about what the training and the rigorous grueling effort it was to get through yours, and having to do that in the mental psychological part of having to do it really by yourself.
Yeah, so good point. Listen, I got a lot of friends who are SEALs. Okay, I've worked with the SEALs, supported the SEALs, they supported us, blah, blah, blah. One team, one fight.
Yeah.
Um, but here's the reality of it. The hardest selection course in the world, bar none, is the Delta Force Assessment Selection Course, period.
Mm.
Um, and here's why. When you go, if, for example, you are even selected to go, all right, and that's the long process, by the way. Not everybody gets an opportunity. I'll just actually back up. So the way it works is the unit, what they do is they canvass all the records of everybody in the military, and they look for the guys that have at least the minimum qualifications, right? And so there's a bunch of qualifications. For example, IQ, your they have various tests that you have to take. You have psychological evaluations, physical fitness tests, medical evaluation,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. If you pass, you meet that minimum requirement. It just means you meet the minimum requirement to apply to try out, right? So then you go through the whole
Right.
application process, right?
Yeah.
If you're selected, which by the way, only 100 people will be selected every 6 months, okay,
Mm.
to try out. So think about the numbers, 200.
Yeah.
My class had 110. I don't know why, but it had 110 when I went through. But so you're now one of 200 people a year out of all the military that
Yeah.
that met the requirements to get selected to try out for Delta Force. So now you go through the formal assessment selection course. Now this is where it gets physical, but it's really, although it's physical, it's actually psychological. You see,
Yeah.
now when they put you out there, you're by yourself. You don't get to run around with a bunch of other dudes in booty shorts carrying a freaking boat, rolling around the sand,
Yeah.
and drawing inspiration and motivation, from everybody else, especially when you look to your right and Joe Snuffy, who's, he's hanging in there and you're like, well, he should be out by now, but he's hanging in there. So you don't want to quit because you don't want Joe
Right.
Snuffy for me, right? So that's kind of how it works. And how do I know that? Because I've gone through those types of courses, like special forces, to be a Green Beret. It's also a group selection process.
Mm.
And so, but when you go through Delta Force selection, it's an individual effort. You're by
Yeah.
yourself every day. You're given very limited instructions. In fact, you're not told anything other than the task.
Yes.
But you're not given, the conditions are what they are. It might be freezing, raining, snow, whatever. Those are your conditions, mountainous terrain. Um, but you don't know what the standard of performance is because they don't tell you. In fact, the only thing they tell you is do the best you can. But sir,
Mm.
how much time? Do the best you can. Well, you certainly know, do the best you can. Have a good one. Do the best. Those are the only things you'll hear. Have a good one. Do the best you can. That's all you're going to get. You're going to get it from a cadre, a Delta operator. It's going to stone face.
Yeah.
And he's going to look at you like he's not even human. He's going to do the best you can. Have a good one. And so you run away into the woods thinking, okay, what's the best I can? I just have to do the best I can. So you
Yeah.
go out every day, all day, um, to meet the standard. You don't even know what it is. And
Hmm.
and almost invariably for most guys, I would say 90 to 95% of the candidates, the best they can is never good enough, right? They don't meet the
Yeah.
standard.
Yeah.
For example, my selection course of 110 of us that started, 6 of us completed the entire course and only 3 of us got selected. And
Yeah.
I was the youngest at the age of 23 at the time. The average age was 33. In fact, the other 2 guys that did make it were 33 years old, much senior to me. Green Berets, Rangers. Me, I was just a 82nd Airborne Infantry long range scout, and so
Yeah.
3 out of 110 out of just my class alone, right? And think about the numbers. And so why is that so, what makes it so hard is, well, the funny part is they tell you to do the best you can. So you run through the wilderness like a madman doing the best you can, day in and day out. You eventually start to wear yourself down physically. You start to break down. I mean, it's like literally every day trying to run a triathlon every
Right.
day for at least a month. And eventually the body gives out. No matter how hard you train, the body gives out. And then the only thing that keeps you going at this point is this, right?
Yeah.
So it's willpower, it's passion, um, it's that determination that keeps you motivated, keeps you moving, right? It makes your
Yeah.
broken body move anyways. And this is where most people fail. Most men do not have the intestinal fortitude. They actually don't have the heart. In fact, in Delta, in the selection process, um, you have an option anytime. You can call it Victor Whiskey, voluntary withdrawal, right? So
Yep.
it starts to get too hard. You can walk into the cadre, sorry, not like the Victor Whiskey, voluntary withdrawal. They don't even yell at you. They don't laugh at you.
Yeah.
Say, okay, put on some more clothes, get in the back of that truck. They haul you back to the camp. And then they tell you, go take a shower, eat some food, get comfortable. You'll have an out briefing with the commander later on this evening, and then this evening you show up to the commander's out briefing. He said, hey, good job, man. Thanks a lot for coming. No, nice try. And then invariably, everybody asks, well, sir, I was wondering if I could try out again. You know what the answer is? No. You
No.
know why? Because you can have a change of mind, but you can't have a change of heart. And
Mm.
that's what
I
they're
love
testing,
that.
heart, right? And
Yeah.
most guys don't have the heart to continue on. And that's what they're looking for. Do you have
Yep.
the heart? Your body's broken. Do you have the heart to drive on, right? And in
Yeah.
spite of all the odds. And guess what? You don't get to look to your left and right and draw motivation and inspiration from another guy because you're by yourself every day, all night, all day. And the only thing keeps you motivated and moving is this heart and the passion to finish and to become a Delta Force operator.
Yes.
And therein is the difference, you know, and like I said, the numbers don't lie. They
Yeah.
just don't lie, you know.
So,
So
so there's two things I want to take away from that, and I would love to hear your insight. So I had Rich Davini on, and he was a Navy SEAL, and once he was done serving as a SEAL, part of his job was putting together the teams based on the characteristics of guys and how he thought they would mesh best. And he said something that was very intriguing. He goes, you know, the super physical specimen guys typically don't work out because you know, maybe they've been really good at sports their whole life and all of a sudden they get treated like, you know, they're nothing special and that's a strike to the ego. It doesn't work. And then there's, you know, and he goes, Phil, I live in Nebraska. He goes, people like you that grew up with blue collar lifestyle and just Midwest work ethic typically work out really well. You're not the most athletic, you're not the brightest, you kind of have a little bit of everything, but you've got the heart part of it. And so I thought that was really intriguing because, you know, from an outside perspective, you go, well, gosh, you got to want to have the best athlete, or, you know, you want to have the person that's had success in life. And it's like you have to have enough tough times in your life that'll push you through the hard times in the activity. And what I want you to talk about is there was a point in your journey where you thought about hanging it up. But then the thought came, but I've got to go down the mountain anyway. Why wouldn't I just go down on my own fruition or opposed to getting in the truck? So talk a little bit about when you were at that moment and fighting through it too.
all right, so I got to give a supporting
Yeah.
story or background to that. So you're right. There was a point in the selection where I didn't realize I was getting close to the end of the program. And you don't know where you are ever, you know,
Yeah.
and you don't know how many more other guys are left because they actually always keep you segregated. So you really don't know how many other people are still in the course with you because you're never operating. They keep you in separate base camps, so it's hard to get a feel for okay where's you're standing at, right? So it's always a mystery, and so there does come a point where physically you're just been obliterated, man. I mean, and look, I trained. I was in the best shape of my life at the time, no doubt about it. I was like in phenomenal condition. To put it in perspective, um, I could do 18 miles on with a rucksack at night, 40-pound rucksack with water, weapon.
My gosh.
I could do it in 2 hours and 50 minutes. Oh no, 2 hours and 36 minutes. Sorry, 2 hours and 36 minutes, 18 miles. After I did a swim test and I did a 5-event physical fitness test, then I go out and do that. Um, I can go on with the numbers, but statistically, I was running 2 miles with boots in 11 and a half minutes. Okay, think about that. Those numbers, right? That's the kind of shape that it took to
Yeah.
get through that. I was in better shape than probably most professional Olympic athletes. You know why I know that? Because I was a professional boxer too. So I know what
Yeah.
it took. In fact, I would argue that being a Delta Force operator, you're in better shape than most professional athletes, hands
Yeah.
down. And to your point earlier, you know, we don't all look like these big burly, like in the movies, you know, they're like all these big dudes. Okay, you're right. Those guys don't last very long. All that muscle, that's just more energy you got to feed, you know, or more
Yeah.
muscle you got to give energy and feed. Um, and so, you know, in fact, we used to say in Delta Force, we don't always pick the best guy, we pick the right guy. You know, the right
Mm.
guy that's kind of transcends everything from physical fitness, intellect, and things like that. You know, it kind of looks like the average dude. And so the day came where I remember I was mired down in mud in a farmer's field up to my knees, and I was just spent. I had nothing left in the tank, and it was pouring rain. It was freezing. It was foggy. I had a sketch map. It was basically a map that I drew with a pencil on a piece of uh, pr- um, typing paper, and then when I pulled it out, it was just like soggy toilet paper, just was shredded apart, you know. And I sat there on my knees in the mud, and I couldn't move anymore. I was just totally exhausted. I'd spent everything I had left in the tank, and that's when it starts to affect the mind.
Mm.
That's when it really affects the mind because you really want something so bad, like to be a Delta Force operator, and you
Yeah.
see that dream just starting to fizzle away in the fog. It's like, you know, just starting to get diluted by the
Yeah.
rain, you know, and you sit there. And I remember just got so discouraged that I stood there and started to weep like a little woman, "Oh, I don't want to do this no more. What am I doing?" And
Yeah.
so, after you go through that little ritual for about 5 minutes, then, rational thought sets back in. It's like, Comstock, nobody's coming to get you. Nobody even knows where you are. They can't even see you. The helicopters can't fly. There's nobody going to pick you up by the mud and carry you out. There's only one way out. It's into your own
Mm,
power.
yeah.
So I started working that out in my head and realizing, what are you doing? I started moving again, got my legs
Yeah.
moving slowly but surely. I knew that my objective was somewhere in the fog to my front. There's a mountain that I had to go up to the top of it. And I said, okay, if I go in that cardinal direction, I should hit the base of the mountain, just go straight up. And so I did. Finally made it to the top of the mountain, thinking that when I get up there, I'm going to go ahead and we call it jack, right? I'm just going to jack right there, right? Jack it in. Voluntary withdrawal, Victor Whiskey. When I got up there, I remember looking at the cadre, and I was thinking, I want to say, Sergeant, I want to vote Victor Whiskey. And I thought, why would I do that at this point? It's like you're already at the top. You can roll back down to the bottom. Freaking, and so I talked myself out of it. Thank God I did.
Yeah.
And and I continued on. But here's the thing. Now, I'm not going to name names. There's a lot of guys out there, they're very, prominent now, they're SEALs, and they talk about, staying hard and blah, 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 blah. Let me tell you something. Stay hard don't do nothing for you, man. I see a lot of stay hard guys that flopped on their face. What it takes to get to the By the way, see, here's the other mistake guys make. They go, I got to make it through Delta Force selection to be a Delta Force operator. So they only focus on the selection part, right?
Mm,
And this is
yeah.
where they screw it up. You see, my vision was beyond making it through Delta. I already knew what I want.
Yeah.
I want to be a Delta Force operator. That was the dream. That was the vision, the mission, the objective, the goal. Not the selection piece was nothing more than an intermediate step to that end, right? And
Yep.
so it was just a step to that end. So when all you focus on, I got to get through selection, there's a good chance you're not going to make it to the end. But if you see the dream of being a Delta Force operator, then the selection piece is just one step in that direction. And that was always my objective, is I wanted to be a Delta Force operator. I could see it, feel it. It's like I was actually Delta operator. I had the passion for it. And just getting through selection was just a step to get in that direction. And there's guys that I would argue they failed selection because that's all they focused on. They didn't
Mm,
focus in state, right? And so
yeah.
there's 4 tenets. I do a lot of performance coaching,
Yeah.
and I teach guys, besides auto governance and self leadership, I talk about things like stress management, and it's a constellation of things that, your mindset that you have to integrate and understand in order to be successful in life. And so, with that said, there's 4 tenets to success. And these are my tenets, but
Yeah.
my first tenet is you have to have a mission, an objective, a goal. What is it you want to do? I want to be
Mm,
a Delta Force operator. Other guys, well, I just want to make it through Delta Force selection. No, I
yeah.
want to be a Delta Force. I am going to be, not I'm going to be, I'm going to be a Delta Force Delta Force operator. So that's my mission, my purpose, my goal. The second thing is my plan. What is my plan?
Mm,
How do I get there? Right. My plan was, okay, my training for it. I had a training regimen. It was freaking unbelievable. I made my preparations to get there. I did everything I could do that I knew how to do to prepare myself for something that I didn't even know what the standards were, right? I didn't even know what the
yeah.
standards were. Just knew
Right.
that whatever they're gonna throw at me physically, I, I cannot fail because of my physicality, right? So I just knew
Hmm.
that was important. I got to be physically fit no matter what they throw at me. So I had a plan for that. My third tenet was passion.
Mm,
Passion is what keeps you motivated. Passion is what keeps you going. I had the passion, the desire to be a Delta Force operator. That's all I could think about. I didn't have the passion to make it do selection. That's easy.
yep.
The passion being a Delta Force operator, there is a big difference.
Yeah.
All I could eat, breathe, and see being a Delta Force operator, man. That's all I could talk about for 9 weeks as I trained up for it. To the point, I always tell people jokingly, my wife would be like, "Hey, babe, let's go to bed and have sex." I'd be like, "No, let's go to bed and talk about Delta Force." That's how consumed I was about it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all I could think about. And then and then the fourth tenet, because what happens is passion wanes. In time, passion starts to
Yeah.
wane, right? Because why? Things get hard.
Yeah.
If everything was easy to attain, everybody would be doing it, right? And so, but
Yep.
anything worth going after that's got real value to it is going to be difficult.
Mm,
And so, and then what happens is when you take on that task, that mission, even though you might have a really good plan, it starts getting hard. Usually people will start to fail because it's not going to be easy. And
Yeah.
the problem is most people can't cope with failure, right? And they don't
Yeah.
like and they don't understand that failure is nothing more than feedback. Failure is learning. It's okay,
Yeah.
right? And so, um, but in time, the passion will die. Physically, you start getting breakdowns. Psychologically, you start standing in farm fields crying to yourself, right? Because that happens, right?
Yeah.
And so, what gets you out of that farm field? The fourth tenet, discipline.
Mm.
Discipline is the only thing that gets you back out of that farm field because your passion's dead, right?
Yep.
You're wet. You got soggy toilet paper for a map, and you just want to go home. But you remember, what the mission is to be a Delta Force operator. Although the passion is dead, the plans kind of sucks right now because there's no plan to get out of this mud, right?
Yeah.
So what's going to keep me going is discipline. And this is
Mm.
where you reach down deep. This will get you out of the bed in the morning, get you to the gym, even though it's raining or you have a boo-boo. It's the thing to get you to the office and focus on your mission, your objective in life, whatever it is you want to do. It's that keeps you going. But now discipline, I look at it as nothing more than an emergency parachute. I only
Mm.
use discipline when I have to. I would rather take
Mm.
on something that I love it because when you love doing something, even when it's hard, it's not even hard anymore. It's like this is passion, right? It's like
Yeah.
the pain becomes the pleasure, right? It sounds kind of
Yep.
masochistic, but that's what it takes. And then when the pain gets so unbearable and you just don't want to even do it anymore, that's when you have to reach down and get the discipline parachute, right? And go, you know what? You're gonna push it anyways. I don't care how bad it hurts, because at the end of the day, when you succeed, it's gonna feel so good, you know?
Boom.
So, that's how and even then I looked at it that, and there's a reason that even then I was thinking like that. It's not something I just made up. It's something I learned when I was 15 years old. Didn't know I had a name, didn't know it was a thing. And it's actually
Yeah.
what got me Delta for selection. It was a mindset that it was how to think and not what to think. And there it is.
What's the story from when you were 15?
Um, well, so we're back in Germany now, right? Remember, we're
Yeah.
living in the community of Americans, and every community had, intramural sports, right? And in my particular neighborhood, we had two baseball teams. We had the Pattonville All-Stars and we had the Pattonville Royals, aka the Bad News Bears. Now, I was a horrible baseball player. Never played before. This was my first year playing, and so I played left field if I didn't get left out altogether, right? So, I couldn't do
Yeah.
any damage out there, standing in the sun, swinging at butterflies, picking grass, wait until we go back in and maybe I get a chance to get to the batter's box. And on this one particular day, it was a Thursday, and my coach out of the blue goes, Comstock, I want you to play third base. Now, I've never played third base. I can't even play left field. I mean, Dale was scared of the ball. So, right. So, I had the cleanest uniform of the team because I didn't have to do anything. And so now he wants me to play third base. And honestly, I didn't want to,
Yeah.
but because remember what I said earlier, I was raised in a military culture. When you're told what to do by your superior, in this case, my coach, you go do, you do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Um, and so yes, sir, three bags full. I go up to third base, and I'm having all these like premonitions, like what happens if a guy hits a line drive and it hits me in the face? I'm thinking all
Yeah.
this negative stuff, right? I'm not thinking about anything positive. And so I go up there, and I'll be damned. Every negative thought I had came to fruition, right? I had dudes
Mm.
line drives at me, and I was ducking and running from the ball. It got so bad that the parents from the opposing team were over at the third base box yelling at me. I'm like, I'm like a kid, and geez, you're not even on my team, and and so it was so bad. We lost the game. I probably made 50 errors just by myself, and I remember going into the dugout, just hanging out in the dugout, and wait till everybody cleared the ball field before I came out. I was so humiliated. So this was Thursday. And then Friday, and by the way, I was 15 years old. That was a long time ago. All right. I'm 61 years
Yeah.
old. So do the
Yeah.
right. And but I can think of it. I remember like it was yesterday. There's a reason why I remember it like it's yesterday, because um, you know, information is tied to emotion, right? So the
Yeah.
more emotional experiences, the more likely you are to remember that information in great
Mm.
detail. So this was a
Yeah.
huge emotional experience for me, right? And so Friday practice, Friday afternoon, and I walk out to the training area, and the coach was Comstock. We're playing the All-Stars again tomorrow morning, Saturday morning. He goes, I want you to play catcher. I was like, what? Right. So on Thursday, our catcher got kicked in the groin. Guy slid in the home base, kicked in the groin. He was out for the season, but we don't have a catcher. And so when I show up, the coach was like, Comstock, I want you to play catcher. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Did you not see what I didn't do at third base? Right. It's like, and I didn't question it out loud, but I knew better than to question him. Right. Because
Yeah.
again, as a soldier's son, when you're told to do something by your superior, you don't ask why, you just do it. Right.
Do it.
And so I was told to do it. Even though I don't know what the hell I was doing, I'm going to do something. I'm going to do it, whatever it is. And um, so now I got like 30 minutes, maybe of practice, if you want to call it practice. It was really sensory overload. Everybody's giving me
Yeah.
advice. Hey, look out when the guy does this, do that. And I'm just, I'm just getting nothing but information. I'm really not getting a chance to practice. Um, 30 minutes go by. Honestly, I didn't have any practice. I just squatted down behind the plate, listening to everybody giving me information. Oh, okay. And then it was too dark to keep practicing. Practice is over. And oh, by the way, guys, tomorrow morning, make sure you're at the baseball game, 0800 on the baseball field. So I walk home and I'm thinking to myself, what did I get myself into? Right? And I was like, how do I get out of this? And then I realized, I thought, well, what if I just don't show up tomorrow? They'll have to get another catcher,
Mm.
right? So I
Yeah.
thought, way out, I can just pretend like I was sick. This is what most people would do, right? This is what
Yeah.
most civilians do. And I was like, nope. I told my team I would be there. I would told my team I'd show up on the X and take the ambush if that's what it takes. I will take the bullet for these guys. I said I would because I'm a soldier's son,
I
right?
love it.
And so I'm like, okay, so you're going to show up. Now what are you going to go out there? You're going to get plastered. You're going to get humiliated, you know? And I said, well, what can I do to mitigate that? So I went home and it was probably about 7:30 that night. And I thought about it, I was like, okay, what if I just go to bed early and I just kind of imagine all the contingencies, what if this happens? What would I do? I'm gonna make all these plans in my head, these
Yeah.
contingency plans. So I remember when I went to bed, this was you gotta remember this is back in the 70s. And this is
Yeah.
when the boxes first came out there, the box stereos, right? The speakers on it, and I had one of those and the headsets. And so I went to bed, I put my favorite song in, which was Daz Daz Disco Daz by Brick. And I still have that song today. And I laid there for 4, 5, 6 hours. I don't remember. I just laid there for hours and hours and hours, imagining playing the role of a catcher.
Yeah.
Feel the baseball threads in my hand. I could feel the glove. I could feel the ball hitting the glove. I could feel the sun on my face. I could feel the breeze. I could hear the crowd murmuring behind me. It was like I'm actually, living the experience. Right now in my bed, I'm playing catcher. Right? I'm playing the game.
Yeah.
And I imagined every possible contingency. And I still remember thinking, whatever I do, I can't let that baseball go behind me. I can't miss it. Right. I said, at
Mm.
least if I
Yeah.
can stop it with my chest or my face. At least it's in front of me. I can still manage the field. I
Right.
still have some awareness. I can do something. But if it goes behind me, I got to turn and run to go chase it. And then when I turn around, I was like, what happened? So I'm thinking like that. I saw
Yeah.
myself double plays, triple plays. I kept rehearsing this over and over. What if this happens? What if that happens? Right? I call them, and I created what I call boilerplate responses. Right? Well, if this happens,
Mm.
I'm going to do that. What happens? I'm going to do this. Right? But I
Yeah.
imagine all in the here and now, like it's actually happening. Um, Long story short, I fell asleep at some point. Don't remember when. I woke up in the morning. I remember walking to the baseball field at 07:45 that morning. It was a very cool, crisp spring morning in Germany.
Yeah.
Sunny. I remember the clover leaf grass had dew on it. I had black and orange striped Adidas cleats, and the toes were very wet from walking through the grass. I remember my uniform. I had clean white pants on, a blue and yellow and gold jersey with the number 43. I remember walking very stoic. I wasn't anxious. I was very calm. just
Yeah.
very calm. Hard to describe, but just very calm. And I was walking by myself. I got to the field, and when I showed up, I remember the coach. He's like, "Comstock, get up, start warming up the pitcher." Sir, your bag's full. I get behind the pitcher. I mean, the pitcher's catcher's mound. Start catching the ball. Very calm. And then it happens. I heard all the parents coming down there like hyenas. Hey, coach, what the hell's going on? Why is he playing catcher? Our boys want to win for a change. You know, blah, 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 right? They're doing this right in front of me,
Yeah.
man. They're just freaking merciless, right? You know, today everybody would be, oh my, losing their mind. Oh, how dare you talk to my children like this? But back then, it truly, the village did raise all the children, right? But
Yeah.
in that case, I didn't mind because of the military village, right? And so we
Hmm.
actually had things like honor, integrity. We had those things. We understood that, tough love, and we
Yeah.
didn't mind putting you through a ringer, kid, if it makes you a better man. We're not going to sit there and, give you a trophy for participating. You lose, and we're going to laugh at your ass and talk shit, and hopefully you
Yeah.
get your shit back next time, right? And
Right.
there's a whole different culture, man, and so far different from where we are today. But so they're going at it. And I remember my coach, I'll paraphrase. Now he was in the military. He's a young guy, but he decided he wanted to be a coach, when he's not doing his military duties. And he said, again, paraphrase, he goes, I'm the coach. I decide who plays, when they play, where they play, how long they play. He goes, that's my job. Your job as parents is sit in the bleachers and support your children. You want my job, you take it right now, otherwise get out of here. Right. And
Yeah.
he all walked away huffing and puffing. I looked at my coach, go, holy shit. I said, coach got my back. And that's
Yeah.
when I realized maybe my coach sees something in me that I don't see,
Mm.
right? Because why is he backing me up like that? I mean, I'm a total failure, right? And at this point, but it's something inspired me. It's like, okay, he inspired me in that, like, okay, he believes in me because he just went way out there and he went head on with all these parents, you know,
Yeah.
and so I remember then the game started, and you know, give you the Reader's Digest version of it. Everything I imagined happened. I made double plays by myself. I made triple plays by myself. I stopped every ball. I sacrificed my body, everything, my arms, my legs, my balls, my face, whatever it took. I stopped them balls and made sure they landed right in front of me. When it was all over, both baseball teams went out to out on in the pitcher's mound area, formed up, called me front and center, awarded me the game ball as the most valuable player of the game,
Mm.
and I played catcher from there on. I went
Yeah.
from 0 to 0 overnight. And I thought, what just happened there? What just happened there? I didn't know it was a thing, didn't know it had a name. And then fast forward, I'll save this story, but I can ramble on and on and on. But what I learned from there was I was able to do this over and over and over again. And this is why I became the youngest Delta Force operator. This is why I made it through selection. This is why I made it through everything I've done in life. Um, and I learned that it's literally a function of physics. So I will tell you this right now. I'm gonna bust some bubbles here because I know people go, here's what happens. All right. Success is not based on willpower. Success
Mm.
is not based on philosophy. Success is based on physics.
Mm.
Physics, right? And like, what?
Yeah.
Bullshit. It has nothing to do with willpower. It has nothing to do with willpower. You know why? Because willpower wanes.
Mm.
Willpower will wane. Oh, but if you
Yep.
understand physics and you understand the physics of our nervous system, there it is. The physics of our nervous system, then you understand you can literally change the dial on your radio inside and tune to the frequency you want to get the performance that you want. And so over the years, I started really understanding this, started studying it. I wanted to know more, why was I able to do these things? It's a form of self-hypnosis. It's a form of
Yeah.
neural programming. There's a lot at stake here, right? There's a lot of these scientists, I'm sorry, that all come together to create this mindset of how to think. And this is what's wrong with most people. They're told what to think, but never told how to think. You
Yeah.
you go to school, you get a college degree, and what, like, for example, you go to school and become a lawyer, or you become a medical doctor. Okay, you're told, okay, if you need to cut something out, you cut it out like that. You give a guy an injection for this, you give him a pill for that. But they never tell you, okay, how do you take your craft and make a business, a living out of it, other than going working for somebody else, right?
Yep.
Uh, So therein the key is how to think and not what to think. Everybody teaches you what to think, but nobody teaches you how to think. That's what I go into, is how to think.
That's good.
And there's a psychology that goes behind that goes with it. It is scientific. You have to understand all of it. But once you understand how energy works, frequency works, it's literally bioelectricity. Once you understand how that works, you can literally tune your performance to anything, any way you want. I call it spinal tuning. You can literally tune your system to automatically, literally instantly enhance your personal performance as well as your future performance. I call it
Mm.
future pacing, and it's also known as the law of assumption. But so you can literally manifest and create the life you want right now and in the future by how you think and not what you think. And this
I
is
love it.
why, we started talking about college degrees in the beginning,
Yeah.
and I have a completely different opinion about college degrees. Okay. I spent a lot of money getting my PhD.
Yep.
I can tell you, well, let's say up to my master's degree. The only thing I learned coming up to my master's degree was one word: paradigm. What does that
Mm.
mean? Paradigm. Always be ready to accept the new paradigm or challenge the new paradigm. It's change paradigms. Okay.
Yeah.
I said I spent a lot of money for that word, but that word was instrumental. And then moving forward, when I got my doctoral degree in natural health and alternative medicine, which I actually use that quite a bit now, because that ties into the biochemistry, ties into bioelectricity, it ties into my mindset, coaching and counseling. I realized that um, our potential for performance, our potential for success is rooted in understanding our nervous system and how to
Mm.
manipulate that, like changing the dial on a radio till we get the right frequency and we're listening to the right song. It's
Yeah.
the same thing, right? And so therein is the key to my success. And like I said, it took a long time to learn this and understand this. And I've gotten to the point right now where I can literally, and I'm not trying to brag or anything like that, but I can literally will or manifest anything I want every day of my life. I manifest money, opportunities, happiness, relationships. I can also manifest, being broke, having a bad relationship because of how I think, right?
Mm.
And so it's really important how you think. And
Yeah.
if you can master that, there's no reason why you can't be successful. I mean, I live in 3 countries. I have 3 homes, 3 families around the country. I mean, around the
Yep.
world. Um, I I travel when I want, and we just talked about before the show.
Yeah.
I won't disclose where I'm at right now. And I have a reason for security purposes, but I live in Southeast Asia, a couple of countries. I live in Florida, Panama City Beach, Florida. Um, I get up when I want. I go to bed when I want. I do what I want. I travel where I want. Remember, my father had an 11th grade education. My mom had a ninth grade education. I was dumber than a stump, and but here I am, right?
Yeah.
Nobody gave me nothing because I learned how to think when I was 15. I've been able to manifest everything I have. I know you see
Yep.
the beach behind me. That's actually not really a beach. It's it's what do you call it? Anyways, I'm actually sitting next to my swimming pool, next to my banana trees, freaking beautiful house. But I was able to manifest my life and create everything I have by how I think, not what I think. And
Yeah.
anybody can do it. If I can do it, anybody can do it. But most people have been enculturated into a mindset um, that you got to work hard, work hard. No, let me tell you something. If you're working hard, you're doing it wrong. You're
Mm.
doing it wrong. Okay, I've worked hard. I know how to work hard. I've done some really hard work. Trust me. But I don't like to work hard. I'm actually naturally lazy. I'd rather do nothing, just hang out and freaking screw around. But so I've learned to be more efficient, and I've learn how to use my mind to create
Yeah.
the things I want. And there's sacrifice people have to make. I've made
Yep.
my sacrifices early on, and because I made those sacrifices early on, now I'm reaping the rewards, right? I don't have to make as much sacrifice.
Yeah. Well, so one thing that I want to kind of tie in, with that story and visualization in the baseball game is I'm sure when you're in Delta Force and you're as a Green Beret, the amount of preparation before a mission just has to be unparalleled. And, the I would imagine the hard part of it is thinking about every possible aspect of it, right? And you only control so much of it. And then the other part is it is reactive, but you can start thinking, well, if this happens or if this person goes down, here's what we do next. Here's how it goes about. And I've always loved the phrase, don't practice till you get it right, practice till you can't get it wrong, right? And
Right.
so talk a little bit about, the preparation that you and your team would go through on different missions to get prepared for all of the things that you knew and all of the things that you probably couldn't have even fathomed would happen. But if they did, you needed to be semi-prepared for it.
Yeah, so it's called an operations plan, right? So, for example, when we talk about mission preparation, it's the same thing. You you take all your intelligence, everything that you know about the mission, upcoming mission, you analyze it, okay? Through your analysis process, you develop courses of action. Okay, we could do course of action 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is, and we can do courses of action for each set phase of the mission. Right? For example, how are we going to get in there? Airplane. We can jump out of an airplane. We can land an airplane. We can land a helicopter. Jump out of a helicopter. We can take a boat. Jump out of a boat. We can take a truck. Not jumping out of the truck unless it's stopped, right? There's all kinds of, we can walk in, right? So of course, all these different courses of action, which one makes more sense? Well, we have to consider things like weather, okay, with terrain, okay, maybe we better walking in, right? So there's
Yeah.
my course of action for the overall mission, whatever the overall mission is. So there is a process. In fact, the military, and the same thing in the unit, it's called the MDDMP, Military Deliberate Decision Making Process, right? And it's a format, and it helps you analyze the mission. And by the way, you can use it for anything, even the business world. And then from there, you select your courses, you develop your course of action, select a course of action, implement a course of action, go, okay, this is going to be our primary mission. Boom, we're doing it like this. However, if anywhere along the way anything goes wrong, here are my contingency plans, right? My boilerplate
Yeah.
responses. If that goes wrong, we do this. If that goes wrong, we do this. If this goes wrong, then we do this, right? So you already worked all that out, if you will, on the drawing board. And then once you've done that and you've selected your mission, then next thing you have to do is rehearse it. Okay,
Mhm.
will it actually work? Let's go out and practice it, right? Practice as much of it as you can, as close to the real thing as you can. Worst case scenario, you can't go out, you can't practice it at all. You can at least run through what we call tabletop drills. Okay, everybody briefs their report. I'm going to do this, that, and that, and my team's going to do this, that, and that, while this team over here is doing this, that, and that, right? That's a way to do it as well. And that's worst case scenario. We can only do tabletop. We can't actually go out and do actual rehearsals. So we have the contingency plans. It's all based on, and there's so many pieces to this planning process
Yeah.
that I could talk about this for hours, and I do in my coaching program. I do talk about leadership and decision-making processes. But for example, you know, when we talk about courses of action, okay, and then we talk about contingency plans, and then we talk about what's called a PACE plan, your primary mission, your alternate contingency, emergency, right? There's just layers and layers of backups, to help make this thing as failure proof as you can.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if everything fails, which you can, everything's not working, it always comes down to one common denominator, the man on the battlefield. That's why it's important to
Mm.
have the right guy and not the best
Yep.
guy as a Delta Force operator. Because this guy's got to be able to stand on the ground and go, you know what, everything fell to shit. Everything around me it's done. I'm the
Yeah.
last guy standing. How do I Charlie Mike continue mission and make this thing work? Right. So it comes down to this guy and what's up here to work it out.
That's
So
great.
yeah.
I love that.
When people think, soldiers, and look, I've heard it, I've had people actually say it to me, lucky you're still living, for some of these comments, because there's some real douchebags out there. But, soldiers, especially at the level being a Delta operator and Green Berets, and SEALs, Rangers, look, these guys aren't idiots. These guys are not just knuckle draggers. Okay. These guys are very intelligent. A lot of these guys have college degrees, and even if they don't, they have one thing that college can't give you. And most people have, and I laugh when people go, yeah, I got a master's degree. I got this. Some chick was commenting about that last night on LinkedIn. I got an education, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you know what? I think even Elon Musk said it too. You can buy an education, but you can't buy intelligence, right? And you
Yeah.
really And then there's effective intelligence. That's the most important part. You can have an education, right? But do you have effective intelligence? Let's call that common sense, right?
Yep.
Can I, with all my information, right? Basically my experience, academia, can I come up with a hypothesis for a what if scenario? What would I do? Okay, that's called effective intelligence. And most people don't have that. Most
Yeah.
people don't have that. I would challenge most people out there, even with PhDs. I look at them, just shake my head and go, what? It's like you got a PhD and you're dumber than a freaking 2-year-old. It's like what? And I got 2 years old smarter than that. And so this is why, as where I was going with this is soldiers are underrated. They only join the military because they're too stupid to fit in society. No,
Mm.
actually, they join the military because they're too smart for society and too smart for you. You just
Yeah.
don't know it, but you're too stupid to realize it. That's how I look at it. And
Yeah.
when I look at the unit, man, we had guys over there. Man, we had guys over with 4 master's degrees, lawyers, medical doctors. These are Delta Force operators, world
Yeah.
class. Okay. Hell, I was a professional boxer, man. I mean, you know, think about that for a minute. You call me a
Yeah.
knuckle drag, I can carry a rucksack for a long time, I shoot a gun and you think I'm just an idiot? You know what? We are in the unit, we used to always say, um, we didn't want, we wanted thinkers who were shooters. We didn't want shooters. We want thinkers who were shooters. Shooters is just a tool, right, to the thinking part of it. And there is the difference, right? We're thinkers who are
Yep.
shooters. We're not just shooters. Anybody can be a
Yep.
shooter, right? So, anyways, that's my take on that.
I love it. So we could literally spend hours and hours and hours talking about your time in Delta Force, Green Berets, missions that you did. But I know you have things to get done today. So what I'm going to talk a little bit about is, as you've gone through your military experience, talk about the pivot into, well, out of military into starting your first business, and then talk a little bit about, into some of the mercenary work and things that you've done since then.
Okay. So, when you I spent 20 years in the Army. Okay, I was a thinker as a shooter, but still I'm pulling the trigger. That's what I was good at.
Yeah.
And thinking ahead, going, when I get out of the military, what am I going to do? Now, I looked around at a lot of guys that got out of the military. And I'm not knocking these guys. They did what they had to do. But a lot of these guys, for example, when I was in special forces in my particular group, I remember it was very normal for example, the group commander, the forward colonel, when he retired, he got an executive job at some corporation, right? He was
Yep.
C-suite guy. Oh, he's
Yep.
colonel, he's commanded all these men. He's got a brain. And then the command sergeant major, which was his right-hand man that actually pushed the troops and made everything happen, right? And made the whole organization actually work. Got a blue-collar job, maybe. Driving
Mm.
a roach, called a roach coach, right? Which is a food truck on the ranges, handing out hot dogs to guys, or something else, driving a taxi cab. And they're like,
Yeah.
wow. It's like, this sergeant major, command sergeant major, is as good or better than this commander. Yet he's got this crappy job. You know why that is? Because how American society looks at officers versus NCOs.
Yeah.
NCOs, backbone of the military. They are their true leaders, right? I look at commanders as nothing more than executives. They're just
Mm.
executives, right? They make executive decisions, but it's the guy, the sergeant major, that's wearing the stripes, that's actually running the troops and making things happen. Okay.
Yeah.
But everybody's got this general custard perspective. And the reality is it's the NCO chain of command that makes everything work.
Mm.
Okay. And most
Yeah.
officers with their soul will acknowledge that, right? It's not knocking officers. I'm just saying everybody's got their lane. But the problem is the civilian world looks at it differently. They see officers as leaders, they see NCOs as technicians. All right.
Yep.
And then you get the
Yeah.
job accordingly, which is so wrong. And so I've been a very strong proponent or advocate for that when I retired. It's like, you know what? This guy is not going to just drive a taxi cab. I'm not going to take a blue collar job because or a technician, you know,
Yeah.
when I'm way above that. In fact, so what I did initially, as soon as I got out, I started my own security company. Now, this is pre 9/11. I
Yeah.
started a security company and literally this company, I had people working for me, and I was literally hiring my old commanders from the unit. They didn't even know they were working for my company, and they were interviewing. And I'm looking at their resume going, oh, that's an interesting resume because I don't remember that part, but okay, and so, you know, now I found myself running my own corporation, hiring guys, officers and non-commissioned officers to work for my company. That lasted for 4 years. In 4 years, I sold my company to G4S Wackenhut. Okay,
Yeah.
think about that. Sold it at G4S, and I turned right around. You know why I sold it? Because G4S, I was actually a problem for them because I was getting in their way, taking their business. And the only way to get rid of me is buy me out. I'm like, yeah, sure,
Mm.
buy me out. Give me a bunch of money, take the money. I turned right around the next day, reincorporated, built the same business, and go, hey, I got another one. You want this one? Because you're still going to compete against this one. And I ended
Yeah.
up, was it 7 years later, I ended up selling that company to another company. And so that company became an umbrella company for my company. So I ran my vertical under them. But so, I'm kind of a serial entrepreneur, businessman. By look, I don't have an MBA. I got a master's degree in business and organizational
Yeah.
security management, but and you don't need an MBA to run a business.
No.
You don't need a college degree to own a company. I own several businesses here. I actually own a security company here. I provide security officers and explosive detector dogs, narcotic dogs. My wife and I are opening up a restaurant bar right now, and that's just here,
Yeah.
this location I'm at. And again, it's, and how was I able to do all these things? People go, oh, because you were Delta Force, so you got that motivation. And nope, nope. You know what? It's not. I became a Delta Force operator because of how I was thinking.
Mm.
I'm not successful today because I was a Delta Force operator.
Yeah.
Uh, Delta Force operator was just a step to where I'm at today. And I'm
Yep.
only like halfway up the steps right now. I got a long ways to go. I got a lot of things
I
I want to
love it.
still do. So it's really mindset that got me to Delta Force. It's allowed me to start all these businesses. I've got many businesses. I've got many things that I do. Um, and it has nothing to do with, well, you were in Delta Force, so you're special. Nope. I was in Delta Force because I was special before that.
Yeah.
What special before that? Because my father trained me just like a soldier, how to think, right? Have that discipline, have
Yep.
that passion, right? To be successful. And I had purpose. What was my purpose? Actually, my purpose was to make my father proud. What a
Mm.
great purpose, right? And
Yeah.
so the importance of dads and families. In fact, I would argue fathers are more important than mothers. Statistically, it's been proven. Um, single fathers versus single mothers. Single mothers, it's a disaster for the kids.
Mm.
Statistically, I'm not going to go through all the numbers,
Yeah.
but you know, kids have a better chance in life if they're raised by the father than the mother.
Mm.
And now I was raised by my mother and my father. They never got divorced. They were married for 50, I think 3 or 54 years before my dad
Wow.
died. And my mom was very important. No, not taking nothing from my mother. She had her purpose, but my dad's purpose was to guide and mentor me to be the best man that I could be. Right. That's
Yep.
important. And my job was as a young man is to make sure I don't disappoint my leader
Mm.
and have him think he's a failure. Right. And so this is why fathers are important. And more important, I think, than mothers. We always, will play homage to mom. My mom's a great. Yeah, my mom's the greatest. I love my mom. My mom had a role. My mom had a role really to nurture me and, take care of me and hug me and tell me,
Yeah.
you're a good boy. But his dad's like, get your ass over here and stop calling to your mom, get to work, get busy. And
Yeah.
that's the difference, man. And this is why I think our society has gone so sideways, is because men are afraid to be men,
Mm.
because they're afraid to be called toxic, right? So what we do is we've learned to acquiesce, or we, not they, I say other men have learned to
Yeah.
acquiesce to the feminist movement, right? They don't want to be called, a tyrant and toxic male and blah, 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 blah. So they coddle their boys, and their boys become to the point androgynous or effeminate or just totally simps, beta males. And this is what's wrong with our society, and especially American society, but I would say Western society across the board. We're losing male role models,
Mm.
and we're getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And so, again, it was my dad that created the guy that I am, which allowed me to be a Delta Force operator, allowed me to achieve all the things I've done in life. It was because of my father. And and why did I stay the course? Because I understood the importance of not disrespecting my father and my
Mm.
elders. Um, I was taught integrity, I was taught honor, and those things are part of my life every day. I'm not perfect, but
Yep.
I try to live by an ethos that was ingrained in me early on. I get so frustrated when I look at kids today. It's like, they got no discipline, they got no ethos, they got no integrity, no honor. They're lazy, they're fat, It's like, I
Mm.
look at their parents like, what are you doing, and they make excuses for their bad parenting and their children being just a wreck, It's just sad where we're at today, but not in my house. I'll tell you that right now,
Yeah.
not in my house. Um, I got two boys in here. They're actually my stepsons, 15 and 17. And these boys work. They get up at dark 30. They go out and clean kennels. They do a lot of stuff. I got them out here boxing and working out. They got things they have to do, non-negotiable. And
Yeah.
they still get freedom, but they learn how to be men, and they're not coddled. And no, not going to baby boys, because the world is a very rogue and feral place. It's dangerous. It's very
Yep.
dangerous, right? And so if you're not preparing your boys for that, or your girls, um, yeah, you're gonna let them down. It's gonna be your fault as a parent.
Mm.
So,
That's
what
good.
was the
Well, no,
I
yeah.
told
So that was the beginning of the businesses and selling those, and then also you were doing some mercenary work, and so
yeah,
I'm sure in that world, there's only so many people that are capable of doing work at that level, but it's also not as if that's your LinkedIn description, or if that's your it's Instagram description. So I'm sure it's a pretty close knit community on connections and how connections come to be there. So talk a little bit about how you got started in that world and things that you've been able to accomplish.
yeah. So the world of mercenaries. Look, first of all, people conflate mercenaries with contractors. They're not. Okay, if you
Mhm.
work for Blackwater, you're not a mercenary. You're a contractor. Um, a true mercenary sells his services to foreign countries. He goes, hey, you need help with something? I can, special forces mission. I can provide my services, right? You give me
Yeah.
money, I go do the job for you. Um, and that's what I do. And that's what I've done. And so is okay. And then everybody frowns like, oh my God, it's like being a prostitute. So what? It's the two oldest professions in the world, mercenaries and prostitutes, but they got a purpose, they have a place. And
Yeah.
you can judge all you want. At the end of the day, yeah, you know what? I've had guys, the news comment um, about me as mercenary, money is just God. Yeah, dude,
Mm.
because why would I go down range and risk my life killing freaking terrorists and bad guys and leaving my family high and dry? Of course I want money. There's a risk, a huge risk for it. And if you're telling me it's because God's my money, you're an idiot.
Mm.
Okay? You're an idiot. All right, guys like me are needed, just like prostitutes are needed. I know people don't like that, but you know what? They have a purpose, they have a place in life. And it's part of society. It may not be palatable, but it is what it is. I provide a service too. And it's not, look, I don't go out and kill innocent people. I don't work for foreign governments that hate us. I will go work for people and companies or corporations, companies, I'm sorry, that whose ideals, philosophy are in alignment with ours, right? So
Mm.
I go after just bad guys, terrorists particularly. That's what I do, and not just terrorists, but there's others. But people that do very bad things to other people. And I have no problem extinguishing them. If that's what it takes. Somebody's got to do it, because obviously the US government's not doing it. Nobody's doing it because these people still exist, right?
Mm.
So I fill a niche. And the nice thing is I kind of walk a gray area where, it's like no country, no government has to take responsibility for me. It's like, well, he did it on his own. Yeah, but I got it done, and I got paid for it. And, I help solve your problems for you. But anyways, it's a very, very, very small community. And is it something I would recommend? Um, no. However, not anybody can do it. Okay.
Yep.
And I've had guys call me, hey, I want to be a mercenary. How to do it? It's like, forget it. It took me a long time, a lot of experience and training and networking for people to call me and go, hey, we can use your help, your services. Really? What do you want me to do? This. Okay. How much you gonna pay me? Okay. Let's talk about it, right? That's the
Yeah.
level that you're not gonna just go, pick up a gun and say, yeah, I'll go kill people for you. Nobody needs you. They
Mm.
don't look. You can find plenty of guys that can carry a gun and shoot people. Can you find guys with real skill sets that they can use? Use of explosives, surgical explosives, um, communications, all these things that are you know very technical. So um, it's dangerous work. It's the kind of work that you can be disappeared really quickly and nobody will know what happened to you, right? I've been
Yep.
places where nobody knew who I was, and if something happened to me, nobody would ever know what happened to me. I'm just gone off the face of this earth.
Yep.
But you live with that, right? And so you
Yeah.
also know that there's going to be, you know, consequences to if you do get hurt or killed to your family and others, right? And I'll even tell you right now, without getting into speaking too much about it because I can't. I'm on 3 lists, but one particular list, I'm a priority target, and they're looking for me. And they can look all they want, and they better get it right because if they don't, I'm gonna smack them, man. They're amateurs as far as I'm concerned, but everybody fears them. I don't. But you live this life eventually where you've got to keep your head on the swivel. You've got to
Yeah.
be thinking, okay, when I leave the house today, I'll be better be ready because this could be the day, and not just for me, but for my family. So, um, now I haven't kind of mercenary work that I've been kind of famous for, but I still go out and do jobs that need to be done. And, and I have no problem with that as long as I'm getting money, I'm getting paid for it, and I'm getting rid of bad guys. I'm okay with that. It's kind of what I
Yeah.
do. That's kind of like, so I don't know if that's my side hustle or my primary occupation because my real side hustle is performance coaching. That's all I do. Not all I do, but I do a lot of that. I have a
Yeah.
lot of clients that come to me for training on, um, you know, auto hypnosis, how to performance coaching. I go into a lot of different areas, how to manage stress, how to be successful. I have a different approach. In fact, the curriculum I teach, you'll never find any university ever. Nobody can teach this. It's mine, it's proprietary, and it works. I've churned out quite a few successful people. I've made a lot of friends around the world. I'm constantly coaching and training people, but I teach them how to think, not what to think. And there it
Mm.
is.
Yeah.
I said, and most people think, well, I know how to think. I know what to think. No, you don't. No, you don't. And I mean, I don't like bust people's bubbles, but I could look at it and go, you know what? What you just did is nothing any different than the average people do in this world.
Yeah.
Do you work on a level like, for example, my level, right? Where I travel the world. We talked earlier about my travels, I'm on the move every couple of days. I'm traveling somewhere, another country, another state. And I live a very sovereign life because of how I think, not what I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's kind of it's what everybody knows me for, but it's
Mhm.
okay. I like that because it kind of just distracts from all the other stuff that I do that I only people need to know about. Um, but the other thing that's important about this kind of work is I mentioned earlier, I'm 61 years old. I'm not gonna say I'm in the best shape of my life, but I'm in pretty damn good shape for 61-year-old. I mean,
Yeah. I say you look it. You look it.
now there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. And that's the other thing I teach people is how to be healthy. It's got nothing to, well, it's not got everything to do with just eating protein shakes and all that bullshit. It's not about that. And this is what I educate people on as well is the real facts about nutrition, diet, and exercise, and then also alternative medicines that the FDA don't want you to know about. That nobody wants you to embrace because it actually works, and then you start cutting in everybody else's profit margins. But um, I do a lot of work in this space of when I say alternative medicine, things like testosterone replacement therapy, hormone growth hormone, stem cells, stem cell therapy, exosomes.
Yeah.
I'm actually in a business where I actually provide that service at a very low rate, very inexpensive. And we are actually the only FDA company approved to do this,
Wow.
FDA licensed company to do this. That's right. Everybody else out in the US that's doing this, operating off the
Ah.
radar.
Wow.
All you got to do is call them and go, hey, I want to talk to you about this. And they won't answer the phone. They'll call you back. They want to vet you first, make sure you're not the FDA. And then what they sell you is ridiculously high for what you're given. It's
Mm.
Trust me, if there's anybody out there listening, you want exosomes, and you want stem cell therapy, you can do it for a fraction of the cost of everybody else out there doing it because we're legitimate. And it's not about making profit off everybody. It's about being able to help everybody no matter what your income levels are, to live a optimal life, right? And so I don't do any medication. Don't need it. In fact, I'm going to the gym with my wife after this, take care of my body so that I can function for at least another 40 years. I like what I do. I like being able to pick up a gun anytime I want, go down range and take it to the bad guys. I'm not the guy, going with a cane, I got this. No, man, I can jump right out of the chair right now and kick somebody's ass,
Yeah.
It's about mindset and understanding performance. And most people don't, and most people are just fed a line of garbage from
Yep.
so-called these guys with these doctoral degrees and all these experts. They got it wrong. I'm living proof they got it wrong. I'm living
Yep.
proof they got it wrong. And so there's so much more to being successful in life. It's a holistic approach to everything you
Yep.
do. For me, it's not just my mind, it's my body. And when I say my mind, it's really my brain. How do I think? Okay.
Yep.
It's my body, and then it's my mind. The mind part is the subconscious. It's the program that I run, and that's what I tune. The subconscious runs 95% of your behavior every day, right? And so how
Yep.
you is going to determine how you perform. And so it's a triad, if you will. So it's your consciousness, your subconsciousness, and of course your physiology,
Yeah.
and particularly the nervous system, right? And these three together have to work congruently in order to function at at optimal levels. And I say optimal levels because there's another term out there, peak performance. Newsflash, you can't operate at peak performance every day, because
Yep.
that's implying that you can run 100% every day, and you can't. You'll eventually you start crashing, right? But what you can run is optimal performance, 80 to 90% every day, right?
Yep.
And you have a buffer in there of at least 10%, you can hit a peak again, and you don't drop too low beyond that, right? So there's a different wavelength in that you can operate at, and that's the key, is operating at an optimal level and not a peak level.
Yep.
Just like driving a car, you run it right up to the red line. Okay, you can do that, but eventually that engine is going to quit on you, right? Because you run it right to its edge of its performance. Eventually, it's going to wear out a lot faster. But if you drive it sanely, under the red line, the car will last you a lot longer. It's the same, and you
Yeah.
still cover the same. You'll actually make more distance, right?
That's
So anyway,
great. I love it. I love it. Well, Dale, we'll wrap up with this. You wrote the book American Badass, and once again, your story is amazing. Thank you for your service. Thank you for everything you do and have done. But talk a little bit about how the book came to be and really what inspired you to write that.
yeah. So it's kind of funny. Is I was on the TV show Stars and Stripes with Chris Kyle, Terry Crews back to 2012 now. And I was on the set with Chris Kyle, American Sniper, and I saw he had his book, American Sniper. I go, I didn't know you wrote a book. He goes, yeah, I kind of wrote it, like a ghostwriter. He goes, I want to read your book. I want to grow up to be like you. Because at the time I was 47, he was 32. And I was like, no, shit, I don't have a book. So I turn around and I call my management team, go, hey, got to write a book. And
Yeah.
I said, I want to write an autobiography, but I don't want it to be just about me. I want to be about other people, right? And particularly what I had in mind, even back then, was our youth, right? Young men. I said, I want to inspire young men, to pull their pants up, hit the gym, play street football, get off that couch, stop playing video games, right?
Yeah.
And be think I have cultivate a warrior mindset, because that's what society needs. They need warriors to protect it, right? We got too many pansies, skinny boy jean, skinny jean boys, and all this weirdness
Yeah.
going on now. I said we still need men, and so I want
Mhm.
to inspire those that will listen to follow, right? And so that's why I wrote the book. And the
Yeah.
reason I call it American Badass, it has nothing about being badass. In fact, I did that intentionally, even with the cover with me, my muscles and stuff.
Yeah.
It's to get people's attention. But once you start reading the book, you realize it's not about being a badass. It's just actually about being a good person, a good soldier, a good human, a good father, all those things. That's what makes you a badass. Not because you're a tough guy. I mean, the toughness comes from all those other things. And so the book did really well. Still out there selling. You can find it on Amazon. And I've got several other books coming out. I've got one that's coming out here very soon. It's about my time as a mercenary. And then I've got several more books on its heels about other works that I've done in the space of bodyguard work to extractions to getting people out of countries they can't get out of to interdicting bad guys. And then the one book I am going to write, I won't give out the name yet, but it's going to be about my holistic approach to life. Everything from nutrition to understanding autogenic conditioning, neurolinguistic programming, self-hypnosis,
Amazing.
everything that I know that created me, the life that I live, I'm going to share that with everybody in a book. So just now I got to find some time to carve all that out because I'm super, super busy. Got a lot of things I'm juggling at one time, but life is good though, keeps me busy.
I love it. Well, Dale, I want to say thanks so much for being on today. Thank you for sharing your journey. Everyone, go check out the book American Badass by Dale Comstock. And Dale, I'm excited to just continue to watch all the amazing things you're gonna do. And we gotta do this again. We got a bunch of your story left, and we got a second book coming out that we'll have to highlight and talk about.
Absolutely. And anybody, if you're looking for me, you can find me at DaleComstock.com. Pretty easy, right? Or the official American Badass, Dale Comstock Fish on Instagram, of course, LinkedIn. I don't do much of Facebook anymore. I'm pretty much getting away from those clowns. But anyways, I'm out there. I'm easy to find. If you got any questions or anything like that, reach out to me. I always answer.